Big Blue Nation will go anywhere to follow their Cats. A week of fun in the sun all the way in Nassau, Bahamas, one of the world's great vacation destinations. Don't forget the hoops. Kentucky basketball is next. Welcome to Kendall Isaacs Gymnasium, a 1,900-seat arena in the heart of Nassau, Bahamas. Home today to what should be a terrific exhibition. The Puerto Rican national B team versus the Kentucky Wildcats. Hi, everybody. Kevin Connors, Jay Billis, delighted to be with you. We're a long ways from Lexington, Kentucky, and we're a long ways from the start of the college basketball season, Jay, but we are here for 6 exhibition games in the Bahamas with the University of Kentucky men's basketball team. You'll see 3 of the games here on ESPNU, 3 more on the brand new SEC network this coming week. Jay, other than you and I hopping on one of the all-time gravy trains on this trip here, what's the purpose of this exhibition?
Well, colleges get to play one of these exhibition tours once every 4 years, and for Kentucky that has 10 guys that are going to be in the rotation this year have a chance to be. It's a chance for them to bond together, to get their chemistry together. They've already had 11 practices, and they're going to get to play 6 games in 8 days against professional competition. So it's a step up for their competition level, and it's an opportunity to get an early start and find out who they are together.
We know this. They passed the eyeball test. That is for sure. 9 McDonald's All-Americans on this basketball team. We'll introduce you to some of the new faces. We'll show you some of the returning faces as well. Don't forget, Jay, this team saw Julius Randle and James Young drafted in the first round. This may be the best Kentucky team we've seen in quite some time.
This Kentucky team is so big. They've got 4 guys that are 6'11" or better. They've got a bunch of players. I think there are 7 or 8 guys that are 6'5" or better among their top 10. And the issue is going to be how many guys can they fit into this rotation? Can you play 10 guys through the course of the season?
John Calipari in his 6th season at Kentucky, an .800 winning percentage, a national championship in 2012. This team, of course, lost in the national championship game to UConn just a season ago. Kentucky wearing the new uniforms specially made for this trip. Nike uniforms, white with the blue backing. Puerto Rico in the road blue. We are set to tip things off. Kentucky and Puerto Rico underway from Nassau, Bahamas.
During these practices that Kentucky has had, they've put in some offensive actions. They haven't necessarily put in a lot of set plays, but they've put in some different actions and worked primarily just on offense.
One of the Harrison twins, Aaron Harrison, dropping it down low to Dakari Johnson. 3 on the way by Aaron Harrison, and it's too strong.
This Puerto Rico team likes to get up and down the floor and run. They run primarily motion offense, which there's not a lot of pattern to it, so Kentucky's going to have to make some adjustments and talk on the fly.
Jay, obviously John Calipari wants to see his team get game experience here. What else is he hoping to see in this exhibition?
Well, I think he wants to see their competitiveness level and see how all the pieces are going to fit together. I mean, he's got a lot of guys that have improved from last year to this year. You can see players have slipped on this floor already. A couple different guys have slipped.
A driving layup by Gabby Bellardo, getting Puerto Rico on the board. In fairness here, this is not a college facility, nowhere near, more like a high school facility that they're playing here inside the Kendall Isaacs Gymnasium, as Johnson puts the move on down low, and the foul called on Matt Lopez.
And already there's a technical foul called in addition to the foul. And the pass ahead, and that's one of the things that young teams especially find some difficulty with, and that's transition defense. Sometimes you take a quick shot, give up a layup on the other end.
I gather that the technical was called on Matt Lopez for the extra physicality, but nevertheless, we see Aaron Harrison at the free throw line. 79% shooter from a season ago, Jay.
And he will be Kentucky's best shooter this year, but he'll have some competition from Devin Booker, the freshman from Grand Rapids, Michigan, who can really shoot it.
If the name is familiar to SEC fans, he's the son of Melvin Booker, and we'll explore that storyline here in just a bit. But 4 outstanding young freshmen on this basketball team, coupled with what John Calipari called Jay, a veteran group coming back. I'm not sure that you'd call sophomores veterans, but he is.
Well, that's the funny part, Kevin, is that it's not unusual anymore to say that Kentucky's got a great lineup of talented freshmen. They have the #1 or #2 recruiting class every year in the country under John Calipari. The difference this year is that Kentucky has got guys that are coming back for their second and third year, and that's one of them right there.
Put back by Poitras, and you can hear the obviously very partisan Kentucky crowd. I think it's entirely Kentucky crowd here taking this game in.
And that's what Poitras can really do. He can offensive rebound, he can attack the basket, he's athletic, and I think he can really be a good defender.
This is Carlos Lopez, reigning Rookie of the Year in the Baloncesto Superior Nacional. That's the top league in Puerto Rico. And good look ahead down court to Poitras, has it stripped. Second effort. Third effort. Now even a fourth effort, and it'll earn Poitras a trip to the free throw line.
It will also earn Alex Poitras a spot in the lineup. That's really, Kevin, the way that he needs to play. He's a terrific athlete, about 6'8". Now out on this floor, look at that second and third jump and sticking with it and going after it. And Alex Poitras came in as a very highly rated recruit. A lot of people thought he was a one-and-done caliber player, but he's not a great offensive player. He's not a perimeter shooter. That's not his strength. His strength is his athleticism, his bounce, his ability to get to the rim and make plays and be a finisher. You know, you take a look at the size, 6'5" or taller, 9 guys, 6 guys 6'8" or taller, and 4 guys 6'11" or better. I mean, that any NBA team would drool over that kind of size. They would love to have that size, and Kentucky's got 10 guys that can really play. The one guy that's not in that of those 9 is Tyler Ulis, the freshman, who's under 6 feet but can really play. Good pass.
Good looking backdoor cut and the feed, and the layup is good by Gabby Bellardo. He's got 4 points here early on.
What a terrific pass by Andres Torres. You turn your head and they are back cutting on you. That was a terrific play by Puerto Rico. All of a sudden, whenever the action comes at you, oftentimes, and that was Andrew Harrison, the ball side defender on the weak side is going to come over and try to stop the ball or play the ball. You turn your head, and that's what Princeton does. That anytime somebody dribbles at you, you cut back door. It's really difficult to guard against.
This is the B team for Puerto Rico, their national team. The A team, of course, will compete in the FIBA World Cup of Basketball coming up later this summer. In fact, Team USA will play against the Puerto Rican team August 22nd at Madison Square Garden, as the drive and the one-handed throwdown by Aaron Harrison.
And Kentucky throwing a little bit of full court pressure, but that's really pretty basketball. To get the ball inside to Dakari Johnson, he doesn't take the shot, he passes it back out, and that's playing inside out. And Kentucky's got so many quality big guys. If they get the ball inside, that collapses the defense. That's going to make it so much easier for their perimeter guys to attack.
Kentucky starting out in the man-to-man defense as the shot was too strong by Bellardo. Although John Calipari said he might experiment with the zone defense here down in the Bahamas. Johnson. And nobody back defensively, and an easy layup that time for Bellardo.
And really, if Kentucky stops giving up these transition layups, that's the way they can move out a little bit of a lead against this Puerto Rican team. But you mentioned the zone. With this kind of size and athleticism, Tony Barbee, who was the head coach at Auburn, longtime assistant to John Calipari, is back on his staff now, and he's been working to get Calipari to play a little bit more zone. But knowing John, as soon as a three-pointer goes in, he's going to come out of that zone.
Poitras will try a 3, not that time, and it's gobbled up by big Matt Lopez.
See, and that's not Alex Poitras' shot. It's a shot that he can make, and a shot that he took a lot as a freshman, where he was one of the top scorers for Kentucky. But that's not the kind of thing that's going to get him big minutes.
Wholesale substitutions on the way for the Cats as it's stripped away and last touched by Kentucky. Aaron Harrison, one of the twins, helping Kentucky get off to a strong start offensively. The one-handed throwdown. Early on, this game is tied at 8.
Four-man group headed to Kentucky. Devin Booker headed to Kentucky.
John Calipari thinks that Tyler Ulis could lead the country in assists.
Carl Anthony Towns.
University of Kentucky.
I think that I may be the most versatile player in the country.
Kentucky.
It's kind of a different version of Julius Randle. They're all guys that can score. The Kentucky recruiting class.
Well, when you land one member of the top 25 in the ESPNU 100, you're excited about it. At Kentucky, they have 4. Trey Lyles, who's not playing due to a lower leg injury in this tournament, but Karl Towns is here, Devin Booker as well, and then Tyler Ulis, the diminutive point guard. Jay, the challenge, quite honestly, for John Calipari is going to be to keep everybody happy this season.
Well, and I'm not sure that John looks at it quite that way. I think coaches like John look at it as a player's job to keep him happy. And there's going to be, I don't think there's going to be anywhere in the country that is going to have more competitive practices day in, day out than Kentucky. I mean, it is remarkable the amount of talent that they can put on the floor. And you are going to have to bring it every day in order to earn your minutes. And if you are not playing well, there's no reason to wait, because John Calipari and his staff can put in somebody who is. And it's going to be a real challenge to find the right chemistry and the right minutes for everybody. But it's the players, I think, that have to earn it.
Is there another team in America coming into this season that has anywhere near the talent that Kentucky has?
No. Well, let me take that back. I think Duke is in that ballpark. Both of them have 9 McDonald's All-Americans on their roster, which is a record. There have been teams in the past that have had 8, but no team has ever had 9. And this year, both Kentucky and Duke have 9 McDonald's All-Americans on their rosters. That is absolutely remarkable. You'd be lucky to, most programs would be lucky to have 9 in their program's history, let alone 9 in a single season.
You know, to further put that in context, the Big 12 Conference has 7 McDonald's All-Americans. As a whole, the Big 10 Conference has just 6. Kentucky has 9 on this team. As the driving layup is batted away, Torres couldn't get it to go.
Marcus Lee with another block.
Hawkins gives it up. We see Derek Willis in the game for the first time, and he has it taken away.
Hawkins should have kept that. He had a layup and passed it off. But you can see all the different options just in the minutes we've played in this game, all the different options that John Calipari is going to have going forward, and the different ways that they can play. They can press. You mentioned they can play zone. They can play half court. But one thing they can do is come at you with a lot of bodies.
Well, we've seen a full line shift here like in hockey. New faces on the floor: Marcus Lee, Derek Willis. Our first look at Karl Towns as a 3 rims out by Vajagas in the game for the first time.
Yeah, Vajagas has really deep range. Played at Florida International University, averaged about 12 points and 5 rebounds in 2007. He's almost 30 years old. That's the difference. A lot of these guys are older.
As the whistle and the foul is called on Karl Towns. Well, look at the recruiting class that John Calipari has put together here. Never out of the top 2. I mean, that is just a remarkable statistic since he's arrived in Lexington. And
that class that he had in 2011 that had Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, that was, I think, the gold standard. And it was just a phenomenal team in 2012 that won the national championship.
As the free throw line jumper rattles in, maybe with a little bit of help from Kevin Young. And it's Puerto Rico opening up its largest lead of the game at 4.
Kevin Young, who played at the University of Kansas and played in that 2012 national title game for the Jayhawks.
Several members of this Puerto Rican team play professionally in Puerto Rico, as a whistle on a foul is going to be called on Big Matt Lopez. By the way, Jay, just to finish up the point, in case Big Blue Nation is concerned about what's going to happen recruiting-wise after this season, well, they've already landed the number 30 player in the ESPN Top 100 for the class of 2015, Charles Matthews out of Chicago, Illinois.
I don't think Big Blue Nation is too worried about recruiting. That's been a thing that John Calipari and his staff have taken pretty good care of.
Ulis too strong on the driving layup attempt. What have you noticed from this second unit in the 3-4 minutes they've been on the floor?
Well, they're trying to bring a little more pressure, and they've been picking up full court. They've got good play by Ulis.
And it's Ulis taking the charge that time on the drive by DeJesus.
Boy, that was tremendous alertness by Tyler Ulis. Instead of playing his man, he was playing the ball and came down and rotated to get in front of Villegas and then to get out there and take that charge. He saw that all the way. And that is not the norm for a freshman, but this freshman is not the norm. He has great vision, really understands the game, and is a terrific passer.
Jay, what's the biggest adjustment that a star incoming freshman is going to have to make from high school to the college game?
I think for most freshmen that come in that were the best player in their high school team, the biggest adjustment is the we part of the game rather than the me part of the game. That they come in wondering, where am I going to fit in, and thinking about how many shots am I get, how many minutes am I going to play, instead of just being concerned with how you can help the team.
A gorgeous looking jump hook by Karl Towns.
He has got everything. Big time player.
Big time pressure by the Cats. Here is Willis, and there is Towns. Ragged tempo here as they get a whistle on the floor. Foul called on Dominique Hawkins, and this is just a morsel of what they'll get used to, Jay, in Lexington this season.
Now that was Towns going against Kevin Young, who played an awful lot of high-level basketball in Kansas and since then, and as a freshman just overpowered the older player. And Towns has got a lot of skill.
Freshman out of St. Joseph High School, a school that produced the likes of Al Harrington. Whistle, basket will count, and an opportunity for a three-point play for Manuel Narvaez.
Narvaez, that was an old man against a young guy right there. And he just overpowered Towns and kind of discarded him, knocked him to the ground, and then used a little shot fake and got him up into the air.
And let's be honest, I mean, that's the purpose, right? I mean, this is what John Calipari is hoping, that his players get to go up against veteran players who know how to play the game.
Yeah, you get knocked around a little bit, and nothing is going to be easy on this trip. Nothing is going to be easy. I mean, Narvaez was an NAIA All-American, went to Southern Nazarene College. He averaged over 20 points, 12 rebounds a game. And he's in his 30s. I mean, he's been playing professional basketball for a long time. Played in international competition, Pan Am games, you name it. And he's not going to be starstruck by an 18-year-old kid.
He was a fourth-round pick of the Albuquerque Thunderbirds in the NBDL, played for the Colorado 14ers as well.
These guys have been around. And look, Kentucky's more talented. They're better. They should win. I think they will win. But they're going to be taught some lessons in this game by some older guys that know how to play. They're just not as talented.
Down to 12 on the shot clock.
What a job by Ulis defensively on DeJesus out front.
Narvaez muscles it up, and there is Lee clearing the rebound. In transition, Hawkins drops it off to Dakari Johnson.
Kevin, that is a different Dakari Johnson than we saw last year. Changing ends was not his strength. He's lost weight. He's more mobile. And that's a really good sign for Kentucky that he is getting up and down the floor like that. That was impressive.
Here's a three, quick trigger by Kevin Young. Narvaez has it batted away by Willis at the rim. So much length on this Kentucky team. But a whistle and a foul on Kentucky. Dakari Johnson, one of the players who elected to come back for John Calipari. The sophomore with the driving layup, tying this game up at 14. We're back here in Nassau, Bahamas. Kevin Connors, Jay Billis, excited to be with you. Kentucky and Puerto Rico tied at 14. Big Blue Nation will never get tired of seeing the exploits of the Harrison twins in last year's tournament.
Randall spins in the paint, dishes in the corner. Aaron Harrison open three. Got it! Aaron Harrison with a three.
I don't know about the Coach Gene thing. I just like winning.
Harrison backs out with four, with three. A three on the left wing. It's good! Aaron Harrison's three gives Kentucky the lead.
If that's what I had to do to win, I mean, that's what I had to do.
He did it again! 5.7 seconds to the national championship.
Well, the heroics of Andrew Harrison in last year's NCAA tournament were outstanding. Aaron as well, the go-ahead three-pointer with 40 seconds to go, lifting Kentucky past Louisville in the Sweet 16. The three-pointer with under 3 seconds to go to beat Michigan in the Elite Eight, and then in the Final Four, the three with 5.7 seconds to go. Aaron Harrison and Kentucky getting to that national championship game, and Jay Billis, to their credit, both Harrison twins said they want to come back because they have unfinished business.
They still have a lot to prove, not just with Kentucky and winning and getting a national championship, which I know both of them want, but with their own individual games. I don't think they were ready to jump up to the next level just yet. They could have, and they would have been drafted, but I think they'll be drafted in a much better position next year, the year after, however long they decide to stay, because of the work they're putting in. And I think Andrew Harrison needed to become a better defender. I think both of them needed to be in better shape, and they both needed to improve their body language and the way they attack things. And this year they're talking more, they're lighter, they're more mobile, they're quicker. But just thus far in this game, they've done a better job.
As Narvaez knocks down the first free throw attempt.
He's put a whole different physical tenor into this ball game. Narvaez laid a ball screen on Hawkins, and I think his teeth are still rattling from it.
Well, these are grown men playing against, hard as it may be to believe when you look at the size of this Kentucky team, still young men in the college game. Good ball movement by Puerto Rico, and the three is knocked down from the corner by Joan Villegas.
Just great passing by Puerto Rico to get an early shot, and Booker with the turnover, just a weak pass.
Now Villegas thought about it again. Is tied for the largest lead of the game by Puerto Rico. And a whistle and a traveling violation.
Everybody talks about the 35-second clock, and we are playing with college rules, but in transition, just two quick passes and you get a wide open three. You're not going to get a better shot than that running offense for 30 seconds. That was really well done by Puerto Rico.
Aaron Harrison falling away, and a good-looking creative shot by Aaron Harrison.
And Raul Orta was right on top of him. That was a really pretty pull-up jumper, little fadeaway. Aaron Harrison looks terrific to start this game.
By the way, we should give some love to the officials who were given this very arduous assignment here. John Hampton, Brett Hampton, and Bart Lennox, the officials for all 6 of these games here. Big Blue Bahamas, as the layup attempt by Kevin Young was battered away, and here come the Cats again looking to tie this game.
That was blocked by Puerto, who's had a real impact on both ends of the floor. Wait, how about those officials? They're wearing long pants. That's a real sacrifice they're making. They came out in their baseball jackets, the same stuff they wear during the regular season. And I was teasing them. They make you wear the jackets in the Bahamas. You guys should be in shorts and a T-shirt. That's totally unfair.
It is that.
Just a really good pull-up jumper. 2 dribble pull-up along the baseline. And, boy, you knock those things down, you become that much harder to guard because he's already got that catch and shoot where he can really stretch the floor as a 2-guard. One of the things Puerto Rico does a good job of when they get to the offensive end is they really keep the floor spaced. They do not crowd each other. Look how far apart they stay, and that gives them some driving lanes and makes help a lot more difficult for this Kentucky team.
And again, if you think of it as this Puerto Rico team, it's essentially an all-star conglomeration of the top league in Puerto Rico, and many of these players have played together in international competitions before. This is the B team, not the team that you'll see in the FIBA World Cup of basketball later this summer in Spain. But again, almost all of these players on the Puerto Rican team do play professionally.
Yeah, the Puerto Rican team only has 2 players that are currently in college, Gary Brown and Matt Lopez. And Gary Brown was the one, number 9, that just got his shot blocked by Andrew Harrison. Brown looked tiny there.
And you see the college experience on this Puerto Rican team. And one of the players who we thought might be here did not make the trip, Mike Rosario, one of the stars of Florida. Kentucky fans remember him well, as Harrison is too strong. Last touched by Poitras, and it'll be Puerto Rico ball.
Alex Poitras has been really active in this game. He's only made 1 mistake, and that was that 3 he launched a little bit earlier. But he's been really solid. That's the kind of player I think he needs to be.
Jay, will this game be evaluated by John Calipari and his staff in the same way any other regular season game will be? Is he looking for specific things that you might not see in the course of a game that counts?
Well, they don't know who they are yet together. I think they look at the pieces that they've got, but they're trying to figure out what they can be. They sound like Norman Dale and Hoosiers when I say that, but that's really what they're trying to do, and they're trying to get some chemistry things down. And I'm not sure anybody knows exactly how 10 really good players as Devin Booker, the freshman. Boy, he is a great shooter. Not a good one, a great shooter. But I don't think anybody knows how it's going to work out to have 10 really good players and try to give away 200 minutes to those 10 guys.
Here's Young losing the handle, and now the Cats in transition. Harrison driving, able to control it and lay it in, and Kentucky opens up its largest lead of the game at 3.
Really, Kentucky offensively has played well. They've gotten some good looks and some good things. Defensively has been the issue in this one.
Well, so much for this being a summer vacation. Although by the surroundings, you might not be able to tell. The trip from Lexington. And basketball is underway. Coach Cal and the Cats posing for photographs, sending postcards, greetings from the Bahamas. Yes, the cruise ships often pull into the Bahamas, one of the great vacation destinations in all of the world. Kentucky leading Puerto Rico 21-18 here as the Big Blue Bahamas Tour is underway. It's a 6-game exhibition. You'll see us here tomorrow on ESPNU, 1 Eastern, when Kentucky takes on Chalon Rem of the French A-League. Tuesday, and again, it'll be a rematch of this Kentucky-Puerto Rico game. We'll see the Dominican Republic B team in action on Friday on the SEC Network, the first live broadcast on the brand new network, followed by the rematch with the French team and then the Dominican Republic next Saturday. All games come your way 1 Eastern on ESPNU and the SEC Network.
And the French team and Dominican team, those will be real challenges for Kentucky. Much more recognizable names for the people that are watching back in the United States. You got to remember, Kentucky, you mentioned it, Kentucky's playing without freshman Trey Lyles, who's got a lower leg injury, and they're also playing without Willie Cauley-Stein, the 7-foot junior. And he would certainly be a starter on this group, with this group.
He might be a starter in the NBA had he decided to go pro, but he too elected to come back as Marcus Lee muscles one up down low, something they're looking to see in the development of the 6'9", 215-pound sophomore. And there are the two big men, Trey Lyles and Willie Cauley-Stein. Jay Stein was considered one of the top 20 prospects in the NBA draft, but he said he went into John Calipari's office. It was a 4-minute conversation, and he said, "Coach, I want to come back."
Well, that's all you need to hear. I'm surprised it was 4 minutes. I want to come back. Okay.
No arguments here, right?
You don't want to try to talk him out of it.
And Marcus Lee, the sophomore, appeared in 25 games last season, 4 starts as a freshman.
And he was absolutely phenomenal in the NCAA tournament against Michigan. That was the game he had 10 points and 8 rebounds, but 7 of those rebounds were on the offensive end. And he's just a superior athlete with length, and he's very active. Now you see the full court pressure with Marcus Lee up top, causing the turnover.
Willis lobs it up, and the alley-oop thrown down by Lee.
That was a great job by Derek Willis when he got the ball into the lane, not to panic. Just threw that thing up to Lee. After a little hesitation, let some space clear. That was really a good play.
Kentucky has stayed in this full court pressure for most of, if not all, the game. Last touched by Lee. And there's that feed by Willis you talked about.
Well, anytime you get in trouble on this team, you can just throw it up near the rim and somebody can go up and get it. But the pass that we haven't talked about is the one that Tyler Ulis threw to Willis. That was really a smart pass that he made. He's terrific both on offense and defense.
He has been impressive, the quicks that he has for a player who's just 5'9". Here he is pushing it into the forecourt. Ulis driving. That's Gary Brown, plays for West Virginia, with forcing the turnover that time. Andres
Torres with the ball, played at the University of Hartford. Last time he saw Big Blue was at Rupp when he was playing at Hartford. Actually broke his leg in that game. Not broke his leg, excuse me, injured his knee, excuse me.
Brown drops it off. Orta fires a three, and it rims out, and it's gobbled up by Karl Towns back in the game.
Nice
Wide
pass.
open look by Hawkins. Too strong.
Kentucky's getting the shots that they want, but that was a quick shot and it led to a layup. Even when you get the shot you want, you still have to rotate back. And I think it's at least 6 points, maybe 8, that Kentucky's given up layups. That's not the shot that you want right there. Karl Towns can make that, but that was just too early, and they didn't make Puerto Rico guard them at all.
And Puerto Rico had a chance to cut it back down to a 2-point lead, but Torres misfired. That's probably the one knock, Jay. I agree that the transition defense by Kentucky has not been there in this game.
And you don't expect it to. They haven't worked on any of that yet. They've just had 10 or 11 practices. Good cut.
Hawkins, his first 2 points of the game, and the Kentucky lead is up to 6.
Just a little horn set. They got a wide pin down. Yeah, you expect to give up some things at this point in the summer that you wouldn't give up during the regular season. You don't expect to be as sharp. And it is difficult. It is not easy to platoon. So these guys are playing with the same 5. They're maybe not playing with a unit that may be more conducive to their particular skill level.
Whistle and a foul called as Lopez drove to the basket. He'll shoot a pair of free throws. And again, the Kentucky fans here in attendance voicing their displeasure with the call. What'd you think?
It looked like a foul to me, but
and they've iced the puck, and so a brand new line change about to come on for Kentucky. 5 new substitutions getting ready to come back in for John Calipari's team.
And it may be different game to game how these things are handled. John Calipari may decide he's going to platoon all 6 games, but change the 5 that goes in at one time that plays together each game. You never know. He's got a lot of different options, and I think you'll see him do a lot of different things. And he's told us that he's only going to coach a couple of games, and he's going to sit and watch the others while his assistants coach the game. I'd be surprised if he winds up doing that. We'll see. Depends what his record is.
That's exactly right. He said, let's make it clear. He said, I'm only going to coach 2 games. Hopefully those are the 2 that we'll win here in the Bahamas. This is Poitras back in the game with the Harrison twins, Dakari Johnson and Devin Booker. Outstanding shooter who just gave up the ball.
2-3 zone right now for Puerto Rico.
3-2 strong that time by Aaron Harrison. Here's Booker with the pressure in the backcourt. Good defensive pressure that time. The outstanding freshman out of Moss Point, Missouri, son of Melvin Booker, former Big 8 Player of the Year in Missouri.
Booker can do more than just shoot it, but he can really shoot it. This lineup is long and athletic. They can switch everything if they want to, with the exception of the 5 spot. The other 4 positions they can switch.
Here's Bilardo on the drive. Wild shot that time, and Poitras clears. Booker left wide open. He's 1 of 3 from behind the arc so far in this game. Good looking cut that time, and the feed and the finish by Joan Villegas.
Yeah, just not a lot of alertness to pick up that cutter. Johnson was almost able to wipe it away.
Booker fouled on his drive to the basket by Manuel De Jesus, and he'll shoot a pair. Devin Booker will shoot a pair of free throws when we come back from Paradise in the Bahamas. Kentucky leading by 2. Kevin Connors, Jay Billis back with you. The Big Blue Bahamas tour underway. Kentucky leading Puerto Rico 26-24 late here in the first half. Well, ESPNU brings you coverage of the FIBA Under-17 World Championship. USA and the Philippines take the court tomorrow. The FIBA Under-17 World Championship tomorrow, 10:45 a.m. Eastern on ESPNU. Also available live on Watch ESPN. Jay, this is a under-17 U.S. team that you're familiar with. What sort of talent is there on that team?
Well, they've got a ton of talent. It's coached by Don Showalter, one of the great high school coaches in this country out of the state of Iowa. But you can see he's got players like Ivan Rabb out of Bishop O'Dowd, and the Bay Area, Malik Newman, one of the best players in the country from Jackson, Mississippi. Diamond Stone, Harry Ellenson. You've got some great talent along with Harry Giles out of Wesleyan Christian in High Point, North Carolina. Tyus Battles on that ball club. It's a lot of really good players that you're going to see in college basketball in a couple years that are going to be high impact players. And Don Showalter has done a terrific job with USA basketball over the years coaching those players.
You mentioned the FIBA tournament. Team USA on the men's national level preparing its run in Spain, and of course a lot of well wishes going out to Paul George, who suffered that horrific injury in the USA exhibition in Vegas earlier this month.
Yeah, really a devastating blow, not only for George and the Indiana Pacers, but a really difficult blow for USA basketball.
As is Kevin Durant.
Really, yeah, a different situation, but on the heels of that devastating injury. And that turnover by Poitras is not a very bright play.
Wide open three by Villegas. We've learned he can shoot it, and Puerto Rico has taken the lead right back by 1.
And mostly because of errors by Kentucky. Turnovers, giving up layups on transition defense. This Puerto Rican team has some really good players on it, but they're nowhere near as talented. Villegas just baited Poitras into making that lazy pass to Andrew Harrison. And then a terrific pass back by Bayardo. So it's just a question of being alert. And nobody, once the turnover was made, really nobody got back. And one of the things about playing on a foreign trip like this, you know, it's hot in here. And I don't think the Kentucky players are used to playing in the heat right now. Most of the pickup games they're playing are in really nice air-conditioned gyms, their own. So it's a little bit of an adjustment.
Jay, is there a bigger adjustment for many of the young players here who are making the transition from high school to the college game? Is the adjustment bigger on the offensive end or on the defensive end?
Oh, the defensive end, without question. I mean, there's a lot being thrown at you, but I think having to play help side defense, you're guarding more actions, more cutters. Every player is good, rather than when you played in high school, only a couple guys could really play. It's a totally different deal. And the size and speed of the game ratchets up.
Andrew Harrison on the drive, absorbing the contact, and the dunk by Poitras, impressive as it may have been, will not count. We'll see Harrison head to the free throw line.
And that's one thing, Kevin, that I think Kentucky needs to do more of, and that's drive the ball. If they drive the ball after moving it a bit, maybe get a reversal or two, and then drive it, they're going to put themselves in a position of getting to the free throw line and putting some pressure on this Puerto Rico defense. If you just take jump shots, you're not putting yourself in a position of getting fouled. And right now, where Andrew Harrison is, that's the most efficient place on a basketball court from which to score, the free throw line.
As he knocks down Bolt, he had 20 points in Kentucky's win over Wichita State, the #1 seed, en route to the appearance in the national championship game last season. He had 3 or more assists in 7 of Kentucky's final 9 games. He began to take on much more of a leadership role, distributing the basketball.
It'll have to do that this year.
Yeah.
I think the one thing about the guys coming back is they'll be able to talk more as Aaron Harrison makes that steal. You know, they'll be better talkers. That'll make everybody better.
Harrison drops it off. Booker able to throw it down with 2 hands.
Nice when your shooters can finish like that, isn't it? Guy that you're praising for being a great shooter can also get off the floor.
If you're just tuning in, this is the start of an exhibition series here in the Bahamas. Kentucky set to play 6 games. The first look at some of the new faces here on Kentucky, as the left-handed layup is too strong by Carlos Lopez. Cats have opened up a 3-point lead here in transition. Good-looking crossover by Harrison, and Poitras the finish.
Well, that's going to get the headlines, and it should. That's the kind of thing that'll be on SportsCenter. But the play before, where Kentucky was beaten on a backdoor and their help side defense was there, I think that's the kind of thing that's going to get John Calipari even more excited. This can be a really good defensive team. They're a work in progress, obviously, right now. But there are a lot of good signs that this can be an excellent defensive basketball team.
Here's Harrison splitting the two defenders. Poitras open for the three. Harrison the rebound. The reverse layup. A couple of electric plays by Andrew Harrison.
And a terrific offensive rebound. Now that shot by Poitras was another three, but that was a really good shot. The one he took earlier was not. But those are the kind of threes that John Calipari wants him to take and needs him to knock down.
Shot clock is off. Puerto Rico can hold for one if they can maintain possession. Harrison, Johnson, the finish. Now the 1,500 plus fans who have made it inside Kendall Isaac's gymnasium. Jay Billis energized by the final 90 seconds of that first half.
Kentucky ratcheted up its defense, scored in transition. The beautiful crossover by Andrew Harrison gives it up to Poitras. And Kentucky goes from being down to being up 7 at the half.
It is their largest lead of this first half. 38-31. Kentucky leading the Puerto Rican National B team. Let's head into the studio. Our halftime report coming up after these messages. We're back in Nassau, Bahamas. Kentucky leading the Puerto Rican National B team by a score of 38-31. A strong end to the first half by Kentucky, allowing them to open up their largest lead of the game. Kevin Connors, Jay Billis back with you from Paradise here in the Bahamas. Well, Jay, we talked so much about the great size Kentucky has, and the bigs have played well at times, but it was really the Kentucky backcourt that sparked that team in that first half.
And that's a backcourt with size, too, with the exception of Tyler Ulis, the freshman who's under 6 feet tall. Aaron Harrison, 6'5", 6'6". Andrew Harrison, 6'5", 6'6". They should be the same size, being identical twins, but both of them played very well in the first half. Aaron Harrison, an excellent pull-up jump shooter, has terrific range. And you saw Devin Booker, 7 points in that first half to go along with Andrew Harrison's 8. The points were spread around, but I thought the guards toward the end of the first half really started to assert themselves. They were very good in transition, did a nice job on the defensive end. I think the one area where Kentucky needs to improve in the second half is they gave up an awful lot of points in the paint. They gave up 16 points in the paint in that first half. A number of them on transition layups where they just didn't get back, took a quick shot, gave up something easy.
Now look at the field goal shooting here. Puerto Rico led by Joan Villegas, who's got 12 points. They're shooting just 13 of 30 from the field. And again, Kentucky from behind the arc. Devin Booker, the only one to knock down a 3-point field goal in this game. The rebounding and assist numbers very, very similar.
Yeah, Kevin, you look at that 13 of 30 that Puerto Rico shot in that first half. You take away those transition layups and easy things like after a turnover where they get a layup. You take that away, they've really had a difficult time scoring efficiently against Kentucky's half-court defense. And this half-court defense is nowhere near as good now as it's going to be in a few months. And that's got to make John Calipari feel pretty good. If they clean up some of these little things where they've made some mistakes and given Puerto Rico some buckets, Kentucky's going to be awfully difficult to score upon this year.
Well, we've talked about the limited amount of offense that Kentucky has put in. In terms of what you saw from offensive sets in the first half, how would you evaluate Kentucky?
Well, they didn't really get into too many of them. They did that little horn set that they've got where they got a little wide pin down and they made some really good cuts. But I think as they go through the year, you're going to see this team play more instinctively, where they can put the ball on the deck and drive it and create some opportunities, and where they've talked about working on different actions that they can play out of, where they can lob the ball up. And they've got so many different options, and you'll see them refine that. They'll have a number of different set plays that they run as they did last year. But last year in the NCAA tournament, Kevin, I thought they played at their best when they sort of shortened up their offensive menu and went with fewer things rather than more.
That's starting with the 5 of Ulis, Marcus Lee, Derek Willis, the man who just gobbled up that rebound there, Carl Towns, and Dominique Hawkins. First of 6 exhibition games this week in the Bahamas.
And a really good block out there by Karl Towns. He's going to have a... That action looked pretty good.
Backdoor alley-oop, and Willis is there to finish.
But Towns going against Narvaez. He's going to learn a lot having to play against a guy who's just a load inside.
Nine-point Kentucky lead is its largest of the game. We're just underway here in the second half. As Villegas caught it, he took a step too many, shifted that pivot foot, and he's called for the travel.
Just the wing going to the basket. Villegas turned his head, wasn't paying attention. Willis just got all the way to the rim. Not enough pressure on the ball to discourage that pass. Wait, Kevin, it's been really fun watching Tyler Ulis play defense. He's very good on the ball. He's the type of guy that can pick up full court and really be, I think, he's been called a pest, but I think he can be a really disruptive defender.
Towns misfires on the 3. Here's Ulis.
A really good tap out by Willis there. That's the type of play that can get you a wide open 3 off of an offensive rebound.
Nice pass, Lee. Good looking feed again by Towns.
Towns is quickly becoming Kentucky's assist leader in this game. For a big guy, he's got really a complete game, and he's only going to get better and better. I think he's even surprised John Calipari with how good he is out of the gate.
Jay, the first thing you want to do is make comparisons to other players to make it make sense for people who haven't seen some of the freshmen here. But who would you compare a player like Karl Towns to at the NBA level?
You know, I haven't seen enough of him. I've seen him play in high school, and then obviously seeing him here. But I'm notoriously bad at that. I've never been really good at being able to say, this guy reminds me a lot of so-and-so.
Here's Ulis behind a Towns screen. Another nice feed. Lee down low, and the Kentucky lead is up to 13.
He's got a lot of game. You can see Tyler Ulis playing a lot of minutes with this crew because he can get people the ball and get it to him in the right spots. He's got vision, plays with pace, doesn't get going too fast. You could put him out on the floor with Aaron and Andrew Harrison at the same time. That's just a big time feed by an outstanding point guard. He is what you would call a true point guard.
It's remarkable, Jay, because when we talk about the depth of the front line and then the ability to play the Harrison twins at the same time with a guy like Ulis, you think about the matchup problems a team can cause. There may not be any matchup problems for this Kentucky team. You want to play small, they'll play you quote-unquote small. You want to play big, they've certainly got the horses.
Well, Calipari can put players into the game that forces the other team to have those matchup problems. So he can make the opponent match up to him. And we've pointed this out already, but we're talking about a team that doesn't have 2 of its best players playing right now. You know, Trey Lyles, the freshman from Indianapolis, is not playing, and Willie Cauley-Stein, a junior that would likely be a starter with this crew, is not playing. So even though they're playing 10 right now, that's not the 10 that would be the top 10 if those 2 guys were in there. They would be playing in that top rotation. So I think Kentucky's going to be even better than they look right now as far as their personnel.
Which is a scary, scary thought in many different ways. Well, a reminder that the most storied conference in college athletics has a brand new home. ESPN brings you the SEC Network.
Baseball is phenomenal. I mean, I love watching those games. I just don't seem to get enough of them, but you'll have plenty of them when the SEC Network fires up.
Indeed, it is quickly changing. What isn't the SEC good at, right?
Well, how about this? There are 6 baseball coaches in the SEC that make over $1 million a year. That's amazing.
It is.
It shows the commitment they've made to baseball.
Here is Torres on the drive. Left-handed layup, no. Second effort by Narvaez has it taken away. And now Ulis. Willis, quick trigger. And there is Ulis making a pest of himself and drawing the offensive foul on Torres.
He can just get up underneath you. Very quick, stays with you. He's hard to get around. You talk to point guards all the time about staying in front. And he picks up, and he just reads the passer. That's a big-time play. But he has been right in his assignment on every play. Taking a charge in the first half. He has made so many solid basketball plays.
Just doesn't look like there's been any sort of transition for him, right? It seems like he's been playing at this level for some time.
Well, clearly he knows what's going on the basketball floor. He hasn't even broken a sweat yet, which is really remarkable.
Downs falling away. How about the effort by Lee?
Don't you hate those guys when everybody else is sweating? Don't even break a sweat, in control of everything, never makes a mistake. I had a teammate like that in college. Tommy Amaker is now the head coach at Harvard. Never broke a sweat. Could run all day. And when your coach would be mad and he's making you run, and Amaker never looked tired. You want to say, would you mind looking tired? He's going to make us keep running. If you don't look, you need to get tired.
How about the job Tommy's done at Harvard, huh?
Yeah, he's done an amazing job. Not only a great coach, but it was truly a great player and a great teammate.
And again, wholesale substitutions for the Cats. The Harrison twins back in. Booker, Poitras, and Dakari Johnson. And
all of the Puerto Rican players are bending over at the waist. They're tired. And John Calipari puts a new team in. So this Kentucky team can be fresh all the time. And over the course of a 40-minute game, that is going to wear teams out. They can wear you out and foul you out with their depth.
Nice drive that time, but Joan Villegas coming up holding on to that right knee. He's been the scoring star for Puerto Rico in this game, but he's grabbing that right knee as he heads to the bench. A look at the Bahamian government building here in Nassau. 44-33, Kentucky leading Puerto Rico. Kevin Connors, Jay Billis, our entire ESPNU crew back with you from Nassau, Bahamas. Kentucky leading Puerto Rico 44-33. We're in a 1,900-seat gymnasium here in the Bahamas. So I know, Jay, it's not Hinkle Fieldhouse. That's not Ollie up there on the ladder. But John Calipari measuring everything just to make sure it meets standards.
Channeling Norman Dale. John Robick down there on the floor, giving him a little hand. And Barry Rorson. Slice, as he's known, John Calipari's assistant, said he thought that might be a good omen, starting the year on a ladder and ending the year on a ladder.
Well, they are 10 feet regulation size. Jay, we talked about this Kentucky team likely being among, if not the most talented in the nation. Do you expect them to start the season as the preseason #1?
I would think they'd be right up there. Duke would probably be another team that could do that. Wisconsin will be very good, as will Arizona. But I would think with the level of talent and having 9 McDonald's All-Americans on the roster, that Duke and Kentucky would be vying for that one. And I think Kentucky will probably have it. And you don't see many times in today's game where you have the same school back-to-back years, preseason #1. Last time it happened, I think, was North Carolina in 08 and 09. When they were #1 for 2 consecutive years preseason.
Right, UNLV back in the Larry Johnson days, as Johnson is fouled going up. UNLV did it, and then UCLA did it about 1 million times under John Wooden. That was sort of an annual rite of passage for many of those UCLA teams. But you're right, for it to only happen to 3 other programs speaks to the talent on this Kentucky team. And you see they're returning 59% of its scoring from last season.
Something that's been very unusual for a John Calipari coach team in Lexington.
Here's Dakari Johnson, sophomore out of Brooklyn, New York. He came on in that Final Four as well, Jay. 10.7 rebounds in the win over Wisconsin in the Final Four. 45% free throw shooter from a season ago, so clearly that is an area where there's room for development.
He has looked very good in their practices leading up to this. I didn't see any of them, but was told that he played very well. He looks much more mobile, in much better shape. He's moving far better. Like he would never have been able to come out on that. What a block by Poitras.
Tremendous challenge at the rim as Narvaez finishes up.
This team is so athletic at the rim.
Andrew Harrison drops it off. Johnson down low. Good defense by Narvaez.
And Narvaez uses that big body so well.
It's DeJesus coast to coast, and John Calipari wants a timeout.
Well, Narvaez just outran all the big guys from Kentucky, both Poitras and Dakari Johnson. Even though he's not the fleetest of foot, he got down there, was able to clear out that space, and open up a lane for a teammate to drive it. But look at that. That is, talk about a confrontation above the rim. And Narvaez able to tip that thing in for another quote-unquote easy basket. It's funny how hard it is to get easy baskets. You have to do a lot of hard things to get an easy basket.
By the way, and speaking of Poitras and his ability to challenge at the rim, as you take a look at the scoring coming back over the years for Kentucky and what they've done that next season. Speaking of Poitras being one of the guys that can get above the rim, we watched some of the practice yesterday. He looked like one of the smaller big guys out there.
Well, he is a smaller. He's 6'8", which makes him a midget among the group of giants that Kentucky's got across that front line. But when you look at the returning scoring coming back, that 2012 team that won the national championships had 54% of its scoring back. That was a team that had Terrence Jones and Deron Lamb on that team. Darius Miller came back, so you had a bunch of guys that came back that formed a nucleus for the younger guys and maybe arguably more talented guys to work around. And they've got a similar thing this year, and I think it bodes really well for Kentucky's season. That once Kentucky gets into practice, John Calipari and his staff, those aren't going to be the only voices that you hear. The players are going to be able to talk. He's going to be able to say, hey, get into this drill. The older players are going to get into it. And the younger players, all they have to do is watch how the older players handle it. It's going to be I think Kentucky has a chance to really take off earlier this year, having some veterans back.
By the way, Carlos Lopez for the Puerto Rican team is done for the day. We were just notified he has food poisoning, so he will not be returning to the game. And we'll keep an eye on the injury to Joan Villegas, who's the leading scorer for Puerto Rico in this game. He is back there on the floor, but he was grabbing at his right knee earlier. So a thin lineup that has already looked depleted in terms of sucking wind a bit out there, Jay, maybe even more so.
And they're going with a 2-3 zone to start.
Wide open three by Aaron Harrison, and he knocks it down.
He's got such a good stroke, and it's so hard to get pressure on it because he's so big.
Here's Kevin Young. Wild attempt, second effort by Bellardo. And it's last touch by Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico is playing really hard going after it on the offensive end, but Kentucky's got so much size and length. Awfully easy for Kentucky to get that shot. Puerto Rico laying back in that zone. And one pass, and there was no pressure at all on Aaron Harrison.
Jay, we've talked about this not being either a college or professional gymnasium in terms of shooting the ball. As Poitras off the dynamite feed by Harrison.
And that's why you want to see Andrew Harrison penetrate as often as possible, because he draws the defense and puts you into a scramble situation. And he's a good passer, can find people. That was just off toward the end of a clock. They were down to about 15, and Dakari Johnson just came up, set a high ball screen. That's how it all started.
Booker the rebound, and the Cats want to run. Harrison lobs it up. Poitras with one hand that time, almost making the spectacular play.
Here off that high ball screen, little in and out dribble. And Kevin Young came off of Alex Poitras to try to make a play. And Poitras able to just slash to the basket to get that dunk.
I was going to ask you about the shooting in this gym in terms of the lighting and the background and things of that nature, as a nice looking drive by Kevin Young. Of course, when Kentucky's attempting all these wild dunks, the shooting doesn't matter much. But how is it in terms of shooting, Jay, inside this facility?
It looks fine. I mean, it's a little bit darker than the arenas that you would normally play in, but I think it's just fine.
Booker on cue misfires, has a second chance at it, and a nice looking rebound and pass by Dakari Johnson.
And that was a really smart cut by Devin Booker. When he got that first shot, he had a backdoor cut and then came off that handoff. And you can see that he can read screens and read situations very well.
Here's Villegas on the drive. Fouled at the rim by Poitras, and Villegas will shoot a pair. 13-point lead for the Kentucky Wildcats as we come to you from Nassau, Bahamas. Back inside Kendall Isaac's gymnasium in the Bahamas. Kentucky the 52-39 lead on Puerto Rico as we near the midway mark of the second half. Well, Kentucky sparked in the first half by the play of the Harrison twins. We've seen Alex Poitras look good, and Jay, on this last possession, it's Devin Booker with the finish.
And Devin Booker's made some really good reads in this game, coming off screens, making cuts, and finding some openings. You can see his father, Melvin Booker, played at Missouri in the early 90s, was Big 8 Player of the Year. And, man, he could really score playing for Norm Stewart.
You wonder, the folks in Missouri might be wondering how they were able to get Devin away from Missouri, but he ends up in Kentucky. Number 18 ranked player in the ESPN 100. Atypical wing player, terrific basketball IQ. They talk about him being a great shooter. He's got, according to a lot of the coaches, an economical shot selection, which you'll need to have on this team, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a nice way of saying he's not a gunner. He doesn't shoot it every time he touches it, which is a nice compliment. But yeah, he's not one of these guys that is an elite level athlete that's going to just jump out of the gym. He's athletic, but he's not going to wow you. That's not the first thing you say about him. He just knows how to play, and he does a good job on the defensive end. He's strong. He's got good length, but that deep range allows him to put the ball on the floor and exploit some openings. And good friend in high school of Tyler Eulis. Those guys played with and against each other. And
as Villegas goes 1 of 2. Jay, of the 4 freshmen here, Eulis, Lyles, Towns, and Booker, who's the one that's expected to have the biggest impact on this team?
I would say Karl Towns is, but Lyles is right up there with him. But you can see that all 4 of these guys are going to make an impact. That was the first play that you'd say, what is Tyler Eulis doing? And he makes a steal to make up for it. It's nice when you can go through a game to this point and he's only made 1 mistake as a freshman. But he has been really, really good. Here's that horn set, but they've got a lot of different options they can use coming off of it.
Dominique Hawkins feeding Towns down low, goes to work on Matt Lopez. Well, that one didn't go down, but that's a good-looking move.
No, he'll make that 9 times out of 10. And one of the things when you watch this Kentucky team play, as young as they are in spots, they share the ball. They're not, nobody's going one-on-one or taking crazy shots. They move the ball.
Lorno too strong. Played his college ball in Canisius, misfiring on the 3, and then there's Willis. Able to shield his body and lay it up and in.
Well, how about that pass? Led Willis right to the basket. A two-handed chest pass on the run by Tyler Eulis.
As Jezreel De Jesus will earn his way to the line, and there is that feed, Jay.
Just leading him right to an easy bucket, and a nice job by Willis to shield the ball away from Kevin Young, who's a terrific athlete and can get up and block shots himself. Yeah, I've noticed one thing about this Puerto Rico team. They don't travel as well as the Kentucky team does. Their fans have not come out en masse like the Big Blue Nation.
Fair to point that out, as Jorge Ortero, the head coach of Puerto Rico, knew what he was getting into here.
Come to the Bahamas to play a road game.
Kentucky will be the home team for all of these exhibitions in more ways than one on the scoreboard, but also in terms, as Jay pointed out, of the fan support here. Big Blue Nation travels so well. What a rabid fan base. Lee, left-handed jump hook and a tip by Towns.
And another great play by Tyler Eulis to keep his dribble with the hesitation to get all the way to the other side of the basket. Yeah, with all of Big Blue Nation faithful here in the Bahamas, you wonder if they'll change the name of the Atlantis for this week to Wildcat Lodge.
Tremendous resort here on Paradise Island in the Bahamas. As the pass by Towns, too strong that time to Willis. Oh, base.
You can see Marcus Lee, then Towns. You've got a lot of size, and it is hard It's hard to block all those guys out and keep them off the glass. They're just playing volleyball up there right now.
Jay, give us all some perspective based on what you've seen the 30 minutes of this Puerto Rico team. Can you give us a level of comparison to the level of opponent that they are in terms of Division I basketball?
Yeah, they would be probably it'd be a high Division I team, but this is not indicative of some of the great teams that you have in international basketball. I mean, if this Kentucky team were to play in the FIBA World Cup, for example, they would not fare well at all. I mean, those are NBA professional players that play all over the world. So this is really good competition for Kentucky, but this isn't the best team that they're going to play here in the Bahamas. I think the French team will be better, and I think the Dominican Republic team will be better.
Well, the Dominican team has a couple of the former Kentucky players on the team, among them Eloy Vargas. The Dominican team, Deshaun Butler played at West Virginia. Darryl Watkins, former Syracuse big man. So there are some recognizable names that you'll see here. Players, again, playing professionally overseas. May have had a cup of tea in the NBA. Good-looking lob by Willis to Lee.
That's one of those plays, and Ulis almost got another steal. Boy, is he disruptive on the defensive end, putting pressure on the ball. It makes it tough to get it up the floor. But that last play by Kentucky is so difficult to guard. That little ball screen, you step in, all of a sudden they just throw it up to the rim on an open side.
3 on the way by Young, too strong. Here's Raul Orta firing.
I think Puerto Rico's worn out right now.
I think you're right, and it speaks to the line shifting that John Calipari has used here. As the lefty jump hook by Towns, not that time. Jay, I've been impressed with Kentucky and the fact that they've been able to play so well early on together in their first game together here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think their offense has been great, hasn't been bad, but you can see where they should have 65, they should have 70 points by now, I think. But if they were playing mid-season form, they would have 70. But it's impressive that they've held this team to 43 points with 7:35 to go, and a number of those baskets have been transition layups, easy things that they can clean up pretty quickly. So it's not like they're giving up stuff against their half-court defense.
Well, you talk about the teamwork here and the ability to recognize where your teammate will be. We saw it there from Willis to Lee.
Not great defense by Puerto Rico, but really solid offense. And anytime you can create some space and get a big guy that's rolling to the basket, they can just throw it up to the rim. And those guys can go get it, whether it's Marcus Lee or Carl Towns, Dakari Johnson, especially Willie Cauley-Stein, because he can move so well. He sets a ball screen, and he can just roll right to the rim. And if his man helps at all on the dribble, you can just lob it up to the rim.
There is some of the teaching going on, and as Jay mentioned, Willie Cauley-Stein, he's not a part of this tournament. Still out with the lower leg injury, along with Trey Lyles. And we remind you that the Big Blue Bahamas exhibition tour continues tomorrow, 1 Eastern on ESPNU. You'll see Kentucky playing Chalon-Rem, the French team from the A-League in France, followed by a rematch against this Puerto Rico team Tuesday, 1 Eastern on ESPNU. And then the SEC Network takes over. The launch is Thursday. You'll see the first live game broadcast on Friday, Kentucky versus the Dominican Republic, as Poitras is fouled on his alley-oop attempt.
There's what we were just talking about, Kevin. A little ball screen. When Poitras' man helps off, you can just lob it up to him, and that's what Booker did. And help side came over and fouled.
One of those area code passes, just throw it up there, and the Cats will go and get it. As you look at Paradise Island, the Atlantis, Kentucky in control here in the second half. We're back in the Bahamas. Kentucky in control, the 58-43 second half lead on the Puerto Rican national B team. And a reminder that ESPNU brings you coverage of the FIBA Under-17 World Championship. Team USA and the Philippines take the court tomorrow. The FIBA Under-17 World Championship tomorrow, 10:45 a.m. Eastern on ESPNU. Also available live on Watch ESPN. I'll be calling several of the FIBA men's national games with Fran Fraschilla, who I'm quite sure, Jay, is at home watching this game Getting caught up on all the young talent at Kentucky.
Well, he's way ahead of all the young talent at Kentucky. He's seen him play a million times. But I think the under-17 team is great evidence. You know, we talk about the men's national senior team, basically the Olympic team that's going to play in the FIBA World Cup this summer, and the great job that Jerry Colangelo and Mike Krzyzewski and USA Basketball has done under the direction of Jim Tooley. The job that they've done across the board. You know, the United States has held the gold medal in every age group of late. I mean, it's remarkable. At the same time, so the program top to bottom that USA Basketball has put together is absolutely remarkable. I don't think American basketball has ever been in as good a shape as it is right now.
And it's really since that core, the Tooley, Colangelo, Krzyzewski team has taken over, right? I mean, that really helped change the landscape as Poitras remains active and lays it up and in.
Right, what a great rebound by Alex Poitras. This is the way that he needs to play. Just throwing himself all over the court, grabbing rebounds, driving it to the basket, and if he gets the occasional jump shot opportunity, great. But his future, not only in a Kentucky uniform, but on the next level, is not going to be decided on how he shoots it. It's going to be, if he's able to do these other things, to be a quote-unquote energy guy.
One Harrison to another as Aaron misfired. Well, he's got to, and speaking of Poitras, has to look no farther than a guy like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who's succeeding in the NBA by being that kind of a guy.
Yes, and Gilchrist is a higher level player, obviously, but that's the kind of way he's got to play. Just be a lockdown defender, rebound. Like, he can score a lot of points off offensive rebounds. Running in transition. He's got a chance to really, and he was a pivotal part of their run to the Final Four last year. Didn't score a lot of points, but he was incredibly efficient when he got opportunities and did a great job on the offensive glass, which is where this Kentucky team, I thought, beat Wisconsin, which is the way they dominated the glass.
Puerto Rico nearly turned it over on the inbound here. And the theme we've talked about, I think that this Kentucky unit, the number of players that they've played has worn down Puerto Rico as Brown misfires on the three.
Nice pass.
Harrison the drive. Good finish.
When they move the ball and then drive it, this is a really difficult team to deal with. Anytime you can get a reversal and then attack off the dribble, if you attack on the same side you start on, you're going against a set defense. If you can reverse it, then you're going against a defense that's rotating and having to scramble a little bit.
Whistle and a foul on Dakari Johnson there.
I think most of the players that have played in this game have done some really good things. But guys that have stood out, Ulis has stood out with the way he has played. I think both Aaron and Andrew Harrison have had some really good moments in this game. And Poitras has been terrific.
Oh, alert play there on the inbound pass. Gary Brown, the inbounder, throwing it off the back of a Kentucky defender and putting it in. I think Towns has played well, too.
Towns has played very well. He's had a couple opportunities to finish some plays around the basket with his left hand that he hasn't gotten to go, but just getting the ball there so close to the basket was so impressive.
Johnson loses the handle, and now in transition, Poitras will allow De Jesus to lay it in.
They've been running a lot out of this horn set. Now they're going to get a little curl action off the top.
Right down Broadway is Aaron Harrison, and you can see that the Puerto Rico defense letting up a bit.
Well, they certainly did in stopping the drive, but Kentucky gave them a lot of things to have to stop. You know, if you come off that little ball screen, if you step in, all of a sudden there's a lob to Dakari Johnson. If you don't step in, then Harrison can drive the lane. If you help from the weak side, you got shooters planted on the weak side for a catch and shoot opportunity or a catch and drive. So that was well run offense by Kentucky.
Open three by Orta, not that time, and Johnson the rebound. Booker taking the better shot that time, the higher percentage shot.
The better shot was probably the three.
Yeah.
But you're right. The one he was more likely to make, I guess, is off the glass. But you know, in transition, if you can get a wide open three, especially a shooter of his caliber, I think you take it.
Not that time by DeJesus. Second effort by Matt Lopez. And a whistle, and Kentucky will wholesale substitute once again. Possibly the last time in this game we'll see the likes of Alex Poitras and the Harrisons, Andrew and Jay Aaron.
Well, Aaron coming down the lane here. Nobody comes in from the weak side. DeJesus, Brown, neither one of them stepped in to try to take a charge or stop it. But if they did, Harrison could have kicked the ball wide to a wide open shooter. So certainly Matador defense, but well run and well executed by Kentucky.
Now this is the start of what Kentucky will see this season. They'll play a non-conference schedule that includes games against Kansas in the Champions Classic, Providence, Texas in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. They'll play North Carolina, UCLA as well. That game in Chicago in the CBS Sports Classic. They'll also obviously play the annual game against Louisville. It'll be at Louisville this season. Kentucky will be tested throughout, and that of course doesn't even mention the SEC schedule. And we remind you, you can catch the Cats in action tomorrow taking on Chalon-Rem, the team from the top league in France, 1 Eastern on ESPNU, followed by a rematch Tuesday against this Puerto Rico team at 1 Eastern. And then the SEC network launches on Thursday night. You'll see the first live broadcast Friday. Kentucky versus the Dominican Republic.
Really a nice luxury for John Calipari and his staff to be able to see their team. 11 practices. They'll have some practices while they're here, maybe some shoot-arounds, but basically they're here to play 6 games in 8 days. In just a gorgeous setting here in the Bahamas. But to get all those practices, get familiar with each other, to work on chemistry and bond with one another, it's a tremendous luxury.
First shot attempt of the game by Lyles. It was off the mark, but a bit too much body that time by Karl Towns. He's called for the foul. Kentucky well in control. As you look at some of the sights of the gorgeous island of Nassau, Bahamas. 65-49, Kentucky leading the Puerto Rican B team from their national squad. 16-point lead. Kentucky has led throughout this second half by double digits. 7-point lead at the break. They trailed in the first half, but have really poured it on by wearing down Puerto Rico as this game has progressed.
And that's going to have to be a calling card for this Kentucky team when they get Willie Cauley-Stein back. And he's been doing drills but hasn't been practicing. And Trey Lyles, their 6'9" freshman from Indianapolis, Indiana. When those two gentlemen, that's Willie Cauley-Stein on the right, Trey Lyles on the left. When those guys are back, that gives you a big-time 10-man rotation. And you can really wear people down.
Dominique Hawkins, the on-ball defender right now, keeping an eye on Andres Torres, as there is Lyles with the steal. Gives it up to Towns in transition, and Towns fouled on the attempt. We've highlighted it, Jay, but he is a difference maker on both ends of the floor, Tyler Lyles.
It's a little bit like Wayne Gretzky used to say, it's not where the puck is, it's where it's going to be. And he sees where everything is going to be, not just where it is. And a lot of players look, this guy sees. He's really, really talented, really good player.
In addition to being impressed with Tyler Lyles, when John Calipari, Jay, looks at this game as a whole, what are his big takeaways going to be?
Well, that he's got a team that'll share the ball. They're unselfish. They play hard. And for the most part, they play together. And the times where they don't play together is not because of any sort of selfishness or anything like that. It's just that they're not used to each other yet. and that's gonna take a little while, as it does with every team. But I think the building blocks you see for an excellent basketball team that's capable of winning a national championship, they're all right here. I mean, this team is capable of winning this thing. And I think they're one of the 3 or 4 favorites out of the gate. It was funny, we were talking about 2 years in a row perhaps being preseason #1. We'll find out relatively soon. But it's amazing how accurate those preseason picks turn out to be. That last year they were #1, wind up being in the championship game. And year after year, even though you may have a rough time during the course of the season, you may lose some games and drop down in the polls, which are some people call snapshots. I don't know how other people refer to it. But by the end of the year, you look back at the preseason picks, these things were right on. They may be wrong here or there, but they're more likely to be right than what we have at the end of the year. That's really amazing to me. Derek Willis has done a nice job in this game. He's a guy that isn't mentioned among the top 10 players in this rotation. You can be a heck of a player and not be in the top 10. All these guys, you got 9 McDonald's All-Americans. You can be an awfully good player and not crack the rotation.
Well, he was the first of the class of 2013, 2014 to commit. And you think of how many programs in America would love to have a player like Derek Willis in their rotation. He'll be a guy, along with others, who will be fighting for playing time this season with the overwhelming amount of talent there is along that front line.
I mean, the competitive practices that Kentucky is going to be able to have. We mentioned luxury before with some of the things that John Calipari can do, and luxury in taking this trip and all. But boy, for a coach, it's a tremendous luxury to be able to put your team out of the floor and know that they have to compete every day in practice. And when you have high-level practices, your team is going to get better. Everybody's going to get better individually, and you're going to get better as a team.
Oh, what a feed by Lyles to Towns.
Tyler Lyles is a 5'9" ball of incentive for big guys to run. If you run, he's going to get you the ball, and you're going to get something easy. So why not run?
Here's Hawkins, Dominique Hawkins. Shifting midair, and as they did to close the first half, Kentucky closing the second half in style. Speaking about the talent on this Kentucky team, it reminds me of the great then Lou Alcindor, now Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, of course, story. When as a freshman, when freshmen could not compete on the varsity team, the UCLA freshman team beat the UCLA team that was ranked #1 in the country. And I had a chance to interview Kareem one time. He told me they may have been the #1 team in the country, but they're not even the #1 team on this campus.
That was back when freshmen were ineligible to play their first year. And Tyler Lyles just continues to impress. The nice pass to Karl Towns with the finish. And then in transition, a little hesitation dribble, gets grabbed and still able to kiss it off the glass. He has played really, really well. Hasn't forced anything.
Boy, and Puerto Rico has really taken its foot off the gas. Lyles missing the second effort, and they'll get Towns on the foul here.
I think they call that conserving energy. The older, more experienced players are conserving energy. At least that's what I call it when I don't get off my rear end and do anything.
Now the fans recognizing the effort here by Kentucky in their first exhibition, first of 6 games here in the Bahamas. They were challenged a bit in the first half, Jay, but the second half it has been a no contest game.
Yeah, it's been all Kentucky. Todd Lanter into the ball game, number 21 in white, just grabbed that loose ball. 2-time All-SEC selection for the Wildcats.
E.J. Florial in the game as well, the 2 walk-ons for Kentucky. As the Cats will be content to let the clock run out on this one. First exhibition game, it was not a masterpiece, but it was a dominating effort in the second half by Coach Cal and the Cats. Strong effort by the Harrison twins, but really one of the stars of the show, Tyler Lyles, the outstanding diminutive young freshman, and Carl Towns Jr. Not to mention a lot of strong effort by Alex Poitras as well. Kentucky rolling to victory in its first game here of the Big Blue Bahamas Tour, 74-49. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we will chat with Aaron Harrison, one of the stars of Kentucky's 25-point victory.